Hi my loves, I hope that you are doing well. If you are new here, my name is Jennifer. I do hope that you stick around. To the people that have been with me and riding with me all along, I really appreciate you. I see you. Please know that I see you and I appreciate each and every one of you. So today, on today's video, we're going to be talking about the money mistakes that I've made in my 20s. Now this year I'm turning 30 on the 1st of May. I'm going to be turning 30. Yeah, I don't know where time went, but anyway, I've always wanted to grow up. I remember when I was young, when my father was still alive, he asked us, what do you want to be when we grow up? And my sister said she wanted to be a pilot, and they all said what they wanted to be. Me, Sotondos. Mina ngathi ngifuna ukuba usisi. Baba ngibuza ukuthi ufuna ukuba yini mntanami? Ngathi nje mina ngifuna ukuba usisi. I want to be I don't know how to explain it in English. Ngifuna ukuba usisi, like I want to be a grown up lady basically, because I looked up on my older sister. She was a model when we were younger and I just loved her. I still love her. And so she was the person that I looked up to and my benchmark when it comes to how you're supposed to carry yourself as a lady. And so I said, so so it's funny that now I'm 30 and go sisi. But then now with a lot of, a lot of substance and a lot of lessons that I've learned throughout these years that I've spent in my 20s. I'm currently 29, but as I said, on the 1st of May, I'm turning 30. And so I thought it would be ideal for me to actually share some of the lessons, financial lessons that I've learned, some of the mistakes and lessons that I've learned in my 20s, with hopes that you guys also don't do these same mistakes. But please do know that this is not financial advice. This is just Jenny in the blog sharing her own knowledge and her own experience, with hopes that it will be useful to you and also enlightening. So let us get into the video. The first mistake that I did in my 20s was to actually save without a goal. You know this thing, save, let's save, especially beginning of the year, let's save, guys, let's save. Saving is important, but then not knowing that as much as you need to know, as much as saving is important, but then saving with a goal is much more important and carries much more weight. I did not think about that. And this was in 2015 when I was doing my last year in master's level, and I was working at the university and I was getting paid roughly about 8,000. And then I still had my NRF funding that came in as well, So for a person in varsity, I had money, and also like NRF was paying for rest and all the stuff. And so the money that I was getting paid was just for me. But then it wasn't just for me alone. I had to pay for my sister's school fees, both of them, during that entire year, and also take care of my younger sister. So that year I decided that I'm going to save. And I remember I went to the bank and I did a stop order of 1.5, and I was saving kumnandi guys every month, but I had no goal. I had no intention. I didn't know what I'm saving for. I just saved. So I saved for the entire year. January came, I had so much money. My money, I actually went, because when January came, I had no job in 2016. I didn't know where I was gonna go, but I knew that I wanted to go and work in Pretoria. But I wasn't just gonna pack my bags and go to Pretoria and stay away. Do what? For me, I needed to make sure that the next move that I make had a plan. Like I knew where I'm going to and for what purpose, And so I was at home, figuring my life and kind of, going with the days as they came. And I had this large sum of money. I remember I went to Capitec and said, I want my money. And so I had to cancel my stop order. I had to cancel my fixed deposit before time. So that means that I also incurred some fees on that. I think it was about 700, if not 800, that I incurred because I canceled that thing. So that was the first mistake. I went and opened a fixed savings plan and then cancelled it before time, which meant I lost money. So that was the first mistake that I did. Second mistake that I did is that the moment that money hit my account when now I had access to it, I started using it on things that didn't make sense. Like, yes, I was at home, and yes, I needed to buy food at home. I needed to make sure that we had, you know, we didn't go hungry, especially because I was there. And because I felt like, because I have money, I felt like a Superman. I could solve every problem. Now, if I tell you that almost every week, I was going to the shops and coming back with plastics, that was me. Every week. Guys, there's a truck outside. I hope that you guys can't pick it up too much. If you can, that means I'm gonna have to film this video again. However, so what I was saying is, every week I would go to the shops and come back with plastics, bags and bags of groceries, until I didn't have, like, I think I used that money all, and the entire year it was about 15,000 something. And then when I started using it, I used it to a point whereby I think I was left with 2,000 something, close to 3,000, maybe 2.5 there. That is how much I was left with in my account. And in March, I get a call saying that you need to come up and start your internship on the 1st of April. Now I look at my account, I'm like, Jennifer, when you sell no 2,000 la, what are you gonna do? My mother didn't have money during that time. She didn't have any means to help me. And so now I had to move to a new city, new environment, with nothing. So I had 2,000, and then I had this sense that allowed me to travel from KZN to Gauteng. Then when I got here, I stayed with my friend for just a few days, and then my friend was like, hey, you're not staying with me, you're gonna go and look for your own place, just like I did when I got here as well, which was actually wise of her. So we went around and looked for a place, and the place that I found was 2,000 rands, and that is how much I had on my account. I was able to secure that place, but now I had no pots, no bed, no bedding, no food. Just imagine if I had told myself, this money that I'm saving it for when I go start a new job, or I go start an internship in Pretoria, as I had said for myself that I would love to go to Pretoria to work there. Now, if I had set that as an intention, and a goal for that money, I would have been able to stick to it. Even if, let's say, for instance, I took some money out of it, but then I would have left a lot of money, knowing that, you know what, I am going to use this money for this specific purpose only. Now, if this doesn't happen, then I'm not going to use this money. So either way, whether I didn't move to Pretoria or anywhere, but that job that I would have gotten, it was going to help me to actually start that life. Because if, let's say, for instance, I had 10,000, I was going to be able to secure my place, a room for renting. I was going to be able to buy a bed, buy a fridge, buy food, buy pots. But I didn't have that, you know. And I also came from a poor background, such that you couldn't just go home and say, Mama, you couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. And so I came here, I didn't have that. And so my friend had to help me to get a bed. My partner gave me 1,000 rands. I was able to buy 2 pots. I was able to buy a plate, 2 plates, spoons. Did I pack some spoons from home? Yeah, I should have packed some spoons from home, and I should have packed some plates from home and some cups. Same thing that my sisters do, like when they go home and then they will pack away things. I should have done that, but I didn't do that. I should have done that. And then I was able to also buy some groceries just to keep me along until we got paid. So that is how I lived. And when I got there, then now I had to go to work. I realized that where I was working was far, so I had to take a bus. But I couldn't afford to take a simple bus as Ariane, which is something that I take now. And when I look at it, I'm like, this is so cheap. But I couldn't afford to even take that, so I had to walk a distance of, yo guys, I don't know in kilometers, but a walking distance that is over 40 minutes. And 40 minutes, that is me being fast. If you are walking very slow, you could easily take an hour walking to that place. Like, I was staying, for someone who understands, who stays in Pretoria, I was staying in, what is this dish called? Above Nanasita, there's a street called, there's Nanasita, and then there's another one above that. I was staying above there by Beggars Park. I was staying by Beggars Park, and I was working close to the Union buildings, like a street out down from Union buildings. That is where I was working. Now staying all the way up there in town, not in Central, in town up there by Beggars Park, walking every day close to Union buildings, and from Union buildings walking back to my place. I lost so much weight, you guys, and that was because I did not set a goal for my finances. Now I know I've went all over when it comes to this, but I just wanted to show you how my poor planning and my lack of goal setting for my savings cost me in the long run. Because sometimes you may not see it then, when you don't set those goals. You may not see it when you're eating that money, but then because you didn't set those goals, sometime in your life it's going to catch up on you. It's going to catch up with you, and then you're going to regret your decision. So that for me was a worst mistake and a lesson that I learned, that when you save money, save it with a goal, save it with an intention, so that whatever happens, you stick to that goal. I also did the same thing with my stokvel. The first time I saved for the stokvel, I didn't set a goal. I didn't say what I wanted to use it on. Same thing last year. When I saved for the stokvel, I didn't set a goal. So I learned my lesson this year. The money that I'm saving on that stokvel 1 and stokvel 2. Stokvel 1 is for my child's school fees. So we agreed with her father, because we play in the same stokvel, that the money that we are saving in there is going to cover maybe 3 to 4 months of her school fees. So for the first 3-4 months of the year of 2023, we don't have to worry about her school fees. So that is what we're saving for. And then the second stokvel that I'm playing, Umholiswane lower 2000, that money is actually for building at home. It's for building the rentals and also building our fund for moving us away from where we are staying. So I know that when it comes, I have to put it away so that it can stay there, be secured there, gain me some interest while we are building this fund, so that I know that once we have reached this amount of money, we are able to start on the projects that we have to do. So now, with all my savings as a plan, I have an emergency fund, which is savings with Frank. That money that I put in there every month, it has a task: emergency fund, which means that I'm not going to use it for anything else. Yes, I'm trying to work on this fund to build to building at home. This is a fund that you are working on with my mother, but I'm not going to take my emergency fund and use it on this thing, because it's not what it has been set up for. So that is why goal setting is very important when it comes to your savings, because it makes it easy for you to know that when you're channeling your money here, you're channeling it for this purpose, you're channeling for this purpose. Now, if ever something happens for this purpose and you need money, you're not gonna go and take from this money, because you know that has to serve its specific purpose. It's not there to cover you on the other purposes that you fall short in. So I'm not gonna go take my emergency fund to build, because that is not an emergency. I'm also not going to take my building fund and put it on the emergency, because that is not money that I have set for myself to put under emergency fund. So it's very important. I've learned the important lesson of putting goal for each and every savings that you have. Even for my sister, when we do Lomholiswane, it's so that I don't go broke, so that end of the month I have money, so that end of the month, if there's something that has to be bought here in this house, I have money. It's also for her to know that on the 15th, she has money, she is not broke. So it's those goal setting that may look small to you at that moment, but it plays a very important role when it comes to managing your finances and knowing where your money is going. And then after everything, you know how to use your money, because the next thing, when you haven't done that, you're gonna spend your money on everything and anything that comes up. Okay, the second mistake that I made was to open retail accounts. Now the first account that I opened was an Edgar's account. Now that account, I remember I set the limit, I was still a student, and I set the limit of 800 rands, and I hardly used that account. I used it at Jet because at Edgar's it was very expensive. Like 800 Rand at Edgar's, we couldn't get a lot of things. And so I didn't use it a lot at Edgar's. I used it at Jet. So I would buy clothes at Jet. And it was very easy for me to manage it. Even though I never fully paid it, like when I was still using it, I only fully paid it when I was intending to close it. And then what I then did also is that I went on and opened a Mr. Price account. Now that account, now if you know, if you know that when you go to Mr. Price home, there is something about izinto zabo that just calls your name. Amavasi, come here. This, come here. Cushion, bedding, this and this. All of these things are calling your name and they look so nice to you. And so you want to buy them. So I remember when I opened the account and I could use it. I stayed with it for like a week, you know, trying to be disciplined, you know. The next thing, I went to Mr. Price home. Yo, guys, I devoured Mr. Price home. I devoured Mr. Price home with their account. Buying this, buying that, buying this, buying a bedding, buying, you know, cause manje phela ngine account, ngine mali. Ongasiyona yami, buying. The next thing, I was owing the limit that I had set, and the limit was like 3.5. I was owing that entire 3.5 and had to pay it. And I never settled it until the day that I decided that I want to close that account. And so those were the mistakes that I made, opening those accounts. But then in 2019, before I applied for my bond, I actually went and paid for all of them and closed them, because I felt like I couldn't move to the next stage of my life of being a homeowner with all this debt. So these are the financial mistakes that I did in my 20s and the lessons that I learned. And now that I'm getting in my 30s, I want to be wise, guys. I want to be clued up about my finances. I want, you know, my finances, you know, I've been on point, and they must reflect the adult that I am. Ma reflect usisi lo engagithi ngifuna ukuba yena ngiseyingane. You know, I must stop making foolish mistakes, and I must stop running to the banks for help every time I incur a problem or I encounter a challenge in my life. And so I just want to say, I wanted to share this with you with hopes that you find value, and that you also be clued up as you are on your 20s, that there are certain things that you should avoid doing, or also there are certain things that you should prioritize in your life so that you avoid any unnecessary stress, especially financially. So with that being said, please take care and stay safe. Bye.
Raise your glass and won't you stay a while?